Greetings, beloveds. Let's discuss how to avoid losses by sticking to bullish periods only. In other words, momentum or nothing. But first, I greet you in the love light of the one infinite creator. Let's get into the video here. I'm going to use a stock here. Ticker symbol is BILI. It could be any stock, any crypto, any instrument. Now what we're talking about here is you can see that this is going all the way back. This is a multi-year monthly chart. The highs here in early 2021 and the stock pretty much bottomed here in early 2024. So what I'm saying here is just by insisting on momentum and more importantly minimum requirements, you avoid these 3 years of downwards money losing sideways action. So 3 years, you just save 3 years, forget about even the money, how much you're saving on because of the loss. And all you have to do is insist that the stock meets the minimum requirement. So we can see that here recently, there was a little bit of a move here. Now, if you can understand the minimum requirements, we are usually looking at 3 years as per my method, which I call the ultimate Muad'Dib breakout. You can find more information on my channel. So you can see that ever since this big drop, by the way, the big drop, if you can notice, also gave you a failed breakout at the highs here. There was an attempt to clear that previous monthly closing high. And it's so obvious here. We tried for 2 months. We were unsuccessful. And since that period, institutions just got out. So things turned around and really had a big drop. Now we are looking at the potential for the next major move. You can see that right now, in fact, but before I do that, let's take a look at a 3 year. So number one, I said 3 years. If you can count that, usually after a big run, you might have to wait 3 years. This is a little known secret, but the reason is because that's the minimum requirement. So you can see here, if I draw a line there, you can see at about 3 years, right about there, because we got year number one, number two, at just about the third year, the stock started moving here last year. And if we zoom a little bit, you can see that that breakout right here was good enough to take the stock to almost a double. So we can take a breakout here of about 15. It went all the way as high as 31. So that's more than 100% gain after being quiet for 3 years. And the reason being that you can see that it met the minimum requirements at the time. I might need to go back about 4 years, but let's take a look at this together. So about 4 years, and what you see here is the RSI was just about to go to 3 year highs. So that's one minimum requirement there. The other minimum requirement is you need your MACDs to be moving to 3 year highs at the minimum. And you can see in that time period, we have at least one of the MACDs moving to 3 year highs, if not all of them actually. So we can see that at least 2 of the MACDs for sure were moving to 3 year highs. So that's why the stock had that pop. So right now, if I take a look at the current 3 year monthly chart, again, the minimum requirements here is we are starting to see another potential for a move to 3 year highs here. That's why it's on my watch list. It needs to clear either this monthly closing high. That's one option that we can consider. That would be at a price of 20.34. Or you can wait a little bit, wait for it to clear the higher monthly closing high from 2024. And that would mean waiting until it clears 23.38. So those are the two options. Obviously, you want to go with the earlier breakout if that was me making that choice. So it's on our radar right now because the MACDs are also approaching 3 year highs. But now, let's take a look at the past, because if you go back, there was a period, a very delicious period in the stock. This is all data monthly, and you can see this stock broke out here in January of 2020, went on to gain 750%. Now, if you join the stock at the breakout in April here, or even the next breakout here in, I believe that was November of 2020, the last breakout, this breakout in late 2020, went for another gain of 250%. Now, this stock is not foreign to us or to my subscribers because, believe it or not, we were able to catch this breakout in January of 2020 right there. In fact, let's take a look here. We go to and you can see here, the first introduction to my clients was in January of 2020. Let's take a look at, you can see the stock is mentioned there. In fact, it's mentioned as one of my favorites at the time. Again, the other mention is that the stock is in April of 2020, a couple months later. And again, you can see the stock is again mentioned here with a breakout level of about 25.68. The stock is mentioned again in August of 2020. So we were all over this stock in 2020. And I want to discuss why it looked so good at the time. You can see again, now it's breaking out at a higher level of 46. We still like it. And the last mention in 2020 was in October of 2020 when it was moving at even another breakout level of 45.25. So back to the chart here. And what I'm highlighting here with the blue arrows is our entry points, or where I sent out breakout alerts for clients. Now you can see, if you take a look at the RSIs and MACDs in all of those periods, might be hard to see, but you'll notice that we were moving. So let me just show that we can make this quick. This breakout here coincides with the MACDs and RSIs moving to 3-year highs. The next breakout, that was in January of 2020. The next breakout was in April right here. And again, you can see that also has the RSI moving to 3-year highs, MACDs at 3-year highs. The next breakout here, there was one that failed. So there's a breakout that failed in August. So not all breakouts are going to work, and we need to understand that there's a failed breakout right here in August. No problem. The stock just went into a sideways consolidation, very tight. And so when it broke out by October, we had already sent out a breakout alert as a future breakout candidate. And again, you can see that also coincides with the RSI at 69.1 and above. By the way, that's one of the minimum requirements. RSI at 69.1. MACDs were moving to 3-year highs. So the stock met the minimum requirements. That's why it was on our watch list as a breakout candidate in 2020. And since that time period, we've avoided all of this messy, money-losing sideways action, because right now it doesn't meet the minimum requirement until recently. So right now it's on my watch list, as I mentioned, should it move again. So if you want to enjoy this period, insist on breakout with minimum requirements. And if you want to avoid the money-losing periods, again, insist on the same minimum requirements. They keep you in the worst periods of stocks, and they keep you interested and owning stocks that are seeing this massive move. That's it for now. I am Eric with Mother.com. I leave you as I found you, in the love and in the light of the one infinite creator. Go forth rejoicing in the power and in the peace of the one creator. Adonai.